A look at you, shifting the whole frequency of your life without even recognizing it. Welcome back. You inadvertent builders of destiny, you quiet heroes who never don capes, you lovely idiots who gave without asking anything in return. You've come at a time when your gentle compassion has ignited something in the shadows. Something old. Aware and unable of forgetting a debt you feed astray, didn't you? Perhaps not literally. Maybe not every time. But somewhere along the road, you reached into the emptiness when nobody was looking. You aided someone when it cost you something. You remained. When everyone else went away, you offered your last piece of bread to someone who had nothing to give back. You did it softly. No post, no tale, no audience, no applause. Just you in a short moment, deciding to be something more than what the world has taught you to be. What they never taught you about genuine kindness. The sort that costs you, the kind that makes you feel a bit empty and vulnerable, does not evaporate into thin air. It does not disappear into the cosmos like a cosmic tax write-off. That energy, that decision, that little rupture in the fabric of reality moves. It travels over unseen networks, connections you'll never completely understand, and systems that function at frequencies that most people aren't designed to sense. And, just occasionally, that act of compassion arrives in front of someone who was never meant to witness it. Someone looking for evidence of a sign, a reminder that something lives in this world beyond commerce, manipulation, and the dirty machinery of self-interest. Someone out there, someone who possesses more than money or power, someone whose influence alters reality, and whose access opens doors you've never heard of. Someone is keeping an eye on you, and they have tools that may change your life in ways you never imagined. And they are not watching with suspicion or judgment. They are observing with something considerably more deadly. Respect. You've piqued the curiosity of someone who isn't readily impressed. You arouse something in someone who has ceased thinking individuals like you are genuine. That stray you fed symbolically was more than simply a passing spirit in your life. It was an unexpected audition, a doorway disguised as a dead end, and you had no idea you were taking a test. And you, in all your inadvertent brilliance, passed it without effort because you weren't trying. That's the whole purpose. You weren't performing kindness for an audience or calculating the return on investment of your compassion. You behaved from a place inside you that the world attempted to bury but could not destroy. Right now, in rooms you'll never visit and talks you'll never hear. Your name is mentioned, not gossiped about, not analyzed, but presented. You're being portrayed as either an aberration or an asset, someone worth watching. They are asking inquiries. Not intrusive or creepy but strategic ones. Who is this individual? What causes them to move like that? What formed them? What do they want? What might they become? What happens if we give them an unexpected opportunity? Because at some levels, individuals like that aren't impressed by resumes. They are not influenced by polished performances. And they're not misled by phony goodness. They aren't looking for flashy, polished, or precisely prepared identities. They're looking for something so uncommon that most individuals spend their whole lives without seeing it personally. Authenticity conveyed via action, character shown under pressure, and true kindness delivered without an audience to cheer, all of which you demonstrated without preparing, acting, or even thinking about it. You did it intuitively, automatically, naturally, and completely unaware that someone was silently paying attention, taking notes, and rating you in ways you never agreed to. You've persuaded yourself that your acts of compassion fall through the gaps of a chaotic cosmos. You believe your sacrifices blend into the background hum of everyone else's noise. The late evenings you remained behind to assist a colleague who couldn't be bothered to express gratitude. You believe they vanished the minute you covered a stranger's coffee without making it a performance or a post-it moment. You assumed it meant nothing. The times you chose compassion over vengeance, decency above ego. Rather than commotion, there is silence. Instead of being petty, show grace. You presumed that nobody cared about anything other than energy. Real energy. The sort that affects invisible mechanics, nudges destiny, and causes changes. Probably won't disappear. It does not fade. It travels. Makes a mark. It becomes a signal. People who work at the highest levels, who have been deceived enough times to see through every mask, deceit, and performance, have evolved an almost superhuman antenna for that signal. They've spent years navigating circles where sincerity is almost non-existent. In their universe, most individuals communicate using angles, reasons, methods, and deliberate gestures. Everybody wants something. Everyone is arranging themselves, practicing lines, donning masks, and managing conversations like trades. But then there's you, the outlier. You were not aiming for anything. You weren't networking or performing. You were merely doing the right thing at the worst possible expense. You did it softly. And it is what set you apart more than any desire or certificate ever could. That is what got your name into intimate chats that you will never hear. That is what piqued the interest of someone who seldom pays attention to anything nowadays. They were aware of your hallmark, the unmistakable vibration of genuine character. When they observed, they did not just shrug and walk on. They paused. They leaned in. They asked queries. Understand this fully. This is not a fairy tale in which the world awards you a prize for being polite. Kindness is not a lottery ticket. Karma is not a vending machine. The current situation is significantly more complicated, strategic, and important. This is meaningful acknowledgement that changes people's lives. The type that comes from those who can physically move pieces on silent boards, affect results, shift courses, and unlock doors that the typical person is unaware of. Now, let's go back to the stray you fed, since that moment was not coincidental. Perhaps it was literal. You helped a homeless person, saved an animal, and gave money to someone who could not repay you. Perhaps it was symbolic. You mentored someone who had nothing to contribute. You protected someone who everyone else had abandoned. You demonstrate loyalty when defection would have been easy. You spoke the truth when lying would have benefited you. You protected someone who couldn't return the favor. You choose integrity. Even when the world wouldn't have faulted you for choosing opportune sympathy instead. Whatever form the moment took, it left a wave. Subtle but strong. And the ripple moved. It passed via the secret infrastructure of human connection, including emotional networks, spiritual frequencies, and energy conduits. Most people never perceive. It went through regions where intuition speaks louder than language, patterns are detected before words are exchanged, and a person's truth is felt rather than read. Someone in the invisible network sensed it. Someone who has spent decades reading the vibrations, navigating the currents, and interpreting the messages. Someone who understands the distinction between performance and truth. Someone who recognizes that the rarest individuals in the world are not the most vocal. They are the silent forces that keep everything together even when no one notices them. Someone who understands that the people worth investing in are those who do the right thing without seeking acclaim, approval, or compensation. And right now, someone is staring in your way. They sensed your frequency as it rippled across the fabric of their universe. It wasn't loud. It was not ostentatious. It wasn't the kind of energy that stands out or demands attention. It was modest and quiet enough that most people would have missed it completely. But polished, distinct. Anyone with the necessary expertise, intuition, and authority will identify it right away. They recognized your signature like an experienced musician, identifying a perfect pitch in a noisy setting, or as a seasoned tracker, noting a rare footprint in a forest that had been vacant for years. And now they are inquisitive, genuinely intrigued. Not in a superficial, detached manner. The strong often study the helpless for enjoyment, but in a concentrated, deliberate manner that carries weight. This is the curiosity of a master craftsman who has watched someone utilize an ancient tool in a manner that no textbook has ever recorded. It's the curiosity of a distinguished general to see a soldier display bravery. They imagined mankind had perished long ago. It is the curiosity of an architect who discovers a substance that should not exist. Stronger, more resilient, and more promising than anything they've ever worked with. It's the curiosity of someone who has seen too much, learned too much, and been disappointed too many times, only to stumble across confirmation that something exceptional still exists in the world. And here is when your tale softly pivots, and your life starts to go in an unexpected way, since the change was never going to happen via effort, hustle, or force. It was always going to stem from who you are when no one is looking. They're approaching you with no threat, no exploitation, and no predatory purpose, as many individuals and situations of power create when they learn someone has something they want. No. They approach you in a unique way, almost reverently. They see something in you that other folks don't. No matter how much money they invest on skill. No matter how many specialists they recruit or how many resumes they go through. What they saw in you cannot be taught at an institution, developed in a program, or acquired with influence. They noticed character, the type that emerges in modest, awkward times. They observed honesty that does not change depending on who is observing. They witnessed your ability to perform without compensation, adulation, or witnesses. They saw how you treated another human being as a human person, not as a transaction, strategy, or means to a goal. Recognize how unusual that is. In the highest circles, choices influence thousands. Where resources change countries. Where influence creates or destroys futures. Authentic kindness is worth more than brilliance, more useful than skills, more precious than ambition, because geniuses fail under pressure. Skilled individuals evolve as incentives move. When the stakes are high enough, ambitious individuals will betray. But genuine character stays consistent. It does not accept bribes. It does not bow to ego. It does not fracture when tested. And these individuals who are now focusing their attention on you have learned through sad experience that character cannot be bought, no matter how deep their finances are. So, when people discover it, when they see someone like you in the wild, expressing these characteristics organically, unpolished and unprompted, they move. Not by trickery, clever traps, or hollow promises. They migrate in response to opportunities. This is a real opportunity. The sort of opportunity that bends timelines, reshapes destiny, and opens up avenues that most people do not have. This is hardly the kind of opportunity that comes knocking twice. Not because it is unusual in itself, but because finding someone deserving of it is difficult. But before that tsunami of change hits, as it will, you need to comprehend something critical. This is not about salvation. This isn't about a mighty person appearing from the sky to save you from mediocrity or difficulty. This is not about becoming someone's project or a charity case. Nobody is coming to change your tale. They are coming because your tale is already engaging. They are coming because you have created something inside yourself that most people never achieve, even with direction, privilege, or wealth. They are not come to remake you because the form you assume in the dark when no one is seeing is already in line with what is important to them. They are not coming to fix. You are not broken. Despite how many times the world has attempted to persuade you differently, they aren't coming to teach you values. You already represent the principles they've spent years attempting to inculcate in individuals who never really understood or lived them. You have become the completed product, walking through a world full of prototypes, a world full of individuals still attempting to piece together fundamental morality, loyalty, empathy, and integrity without completely comprehending them. Meanwhile, you've been quietly perfecting yourself in the background, unknowing that you're becoming scarce. You were pushing your own limitations not to impress others, but because something inside you refused to accept shortcuts. Your character was being fashioned by pressure, not appreciation. Your integrity was being chiseled in isolation, rather than in front of an audience. And now for the folks that really count. The people who can change the course of your life with a single choice have noticed. They discovered the one thing they cannot replicate: you. You are live, breathing evidence that something inside the human soul continues to work as intended. In a society where people sell authenticity for convenience, empathy for benefit, compassion for appearances, and morality for social currency, you demonstrate that the original plan has not been completely corrupted. You remind us that the human heart hasn't completely broken beneath the weight of greed, ego, and tiredness. And it makes you valuable much more than you realize. You believe you are just going through life, attempting to do the right thing whenever possible. However, from the viewpoint of those who work at the highest levels of influence, someone like you is a strategic rarity, a valuable resource, and a human abnormality that they assumed had disappeared. Now let's look at what occurs when they eventually reach out. The world has trained you to anticipate major times with loudness, dramatic announcements, pyrotechnics, and unambiguous indicators. However, this is not how these folks work. Those whose influence is so strong that it silently affects reality rather than social media trends. They don't telegraph their movements. They come without pomp, horns, or spectacle. They move like fault lines, silently and methodically, with such precision that most people have no idea. A change happened and the landscape was irrevocably transformed. Their initial encounter will be subtle, perhaps deceptively routine. You may get a message from an account you do not recognize. Nothing catastrophic, just a little wave that seems very substantial. You could be asked to an event or meeting that appears out of the ordinary. Something that seems random on the surface yet is curiously connected with your journey. You can find yourself conversing with someone you think is a stranger, only to discover they know more about your personality than they should. Or that their queries are more than just casual conversation. They are probes aimed to learn the architecture of your mind. You can be presented with an opportunity that seems too well-timed and customized to you to be a coincidence. This is not luck. Do not minimize it. Don't reduce it to happenstance or universal benevolence. What is occurring is calibration, alignment, and recognition. Your frequency has finally matched up with someone who has been monitoring the horizon for that same signal. No, not really. Not close-ish. Exactly. Now, let's look at what they're looking for in those initial contacts. Those subtle tests that tell them if approaching you is a good idea or a bad one. They're not searching for your thanks. They do not want you groveling or wide-eyed. They do not desire theatrics or emotional breakdown. They are not concerned with how loudly you can praise them or how fast you can capture their attention. They want to know whether you're the same person they first noticed. Honest, focused, and unshaken by the weight of possibilities. They want to test whether you can receive while maintaining your identity. Accept opportunities without becoming needy. Engage with authority without descending into slavery. Sit at a table you've never been asked to before without behaving as if you owe someone your soul. Because this is the reality about those who wield genuine power. Real power, not the theatrical type that lasts a week before disappearing. Others with genuine authority are tired by flattery, manipulation, and others who see them as access points or stepping stones. Professionals who can fake authenticity with such perfection that they forget they're acting leave me exhausted. They're surrounded with takers. Opportunists act like expert actors with the ability to weep on command, apologize with perfect timing, exhibit generosity only when it can be monetized, and be humble only when there is an audience watching. So, what do the genuinely powerful want more than anything? Someone who does not desire anything from you. Someone who does not shapeshift when they understand who they are speaking with. Someone who does not get enamored with prestige or crumble under the spotlight. Someone who stays steadfast and anchored, grounded and self-contained, no matter what's on the table. Someone who can sit in the midst of authority while being true to themselves. If you can do that, if you can react to fresh possibilities with the same calm and sincerity you shown to the stray you once saved, whether actual or metaphorical, everything around you starts to reconfigure doorways you didn't know existed. Begin unlocking individuals you never dreamed would know your name. Begin by asking where you've been concealing routes you didn't even realize were genuine. Begin to unfold beneath your feet. Not because you begged for them, but because you demonstrated your value long before anybody was looking. So let me tell you what happens next. If you manage this chapter appropriately, the following step will remodel the architecture of your whole existence. That act of kindness you gave, which you imagined would fade into the background of your day, did more than merely warm your heart or produce a brief pleasant feeling. It generated information. It generated a signal. It broadcasts data that is not saved in databases or monitored by computers, but rather in the intricate structures of human mind. It exposed who you are underneath your practiced persona, shields, and roles. It revealed your natural settings, how you walk, what you value, and where your heart leans when no one is assessing you. And the information did not remain put. It traveled. Perhaps it passed through the mind of someone who observed it personally and couldn't get over the impact it created. Perhaps they informed someone else not because they were gossiping, but because something about the situation drew their attention. Perhaps that person notified another person, someone with reach, access, and the power to pull levers you had never idea existed. Or perhaps the information did not pass via humans at all. Perhaps it moved by energy, intuition, or the subtle forces that link us in ways that science has yet to completely understand. Perhaps the cosmos itself transported it as a frequency, transporting it directly into the brain of someone who has been looking for that precise wavelength for years. Either way, the point is, the wave did not end where you left it. It continued moving. It continued expanding. It continued to gain pace until it reached someone who could feel, identify, understand, and act on it. And now we must discuss what occurs when that knowledge reaches the hands or thoughts of someone who understands how to use it. This is the point at when your life's course starts to deviate from what you intended. Doors that have been sealed shut, doors that you have knocked on several times with no answer, doors guarded by gatekeeper systems, and unseen hierarchies will begin to break open. Not because you pushed them or fought your way through them, but because someone on the opposite side determined you belonged in the room. Conversations you used to rehearse in your head because you thought you'd never be asked to will start occurring effortlessly, almost casually, as if they were always intended to involve you. Resources that were previously impossibly far away will now seem accessible, palpable, and surprisingly close. And all of this will happen not because you managed your way into closeness with authority, or because you played your way into credibility, but because you exhibited the one thing that cannot be mass-produced: true humanity in a society that is allergic to it. But before you get caught up in the swelling flood, I need to caution you. A genuine one, a harsh, unpleasant one, the type of warning that feels like someone gripping your shoulders and pushing you to maintain eye contact because the next words might save you from becoming something you despise. This will alter you and make you nod as if you were seeing an uplifting movie montage. This is not about leveling up, exploding up, or unlocking your ultimate form. This is about pressure, identity, and integrity. This is about being pushed into new rooms as you are older. Coping methods will not function. It's about hearing offers that put your principles to the test, entice your shadows, and speak to the parts of you that have never acknowledged to wanting certain things. When strong individuals reach out, when opportunities emerge, when the landscape in your life changes, you'll be forced to pick. Who are you? When the world finally takes notice, who are you? When the prize shows up, who are you? When the stakes increase, where exactly do you draw your lines? What will you refuse to compromise on? What aspect of yourself will you protect, even if it means spending all you have? Because this is the painful reality. When the doors open and you're given a place at the table, you'll feel pressure. Subtle at first, then permitted to bend, alter, and soften the aspects of yourself that made you unique in the first place. You'll sense a desire to be more appetizing, acceptable, strategic, and like them. You'll begin to believe that you must earn this, prove yourself, and transform yourself in order to avoid disappointing those who already acknowledged you for who you are. If you fall into that trap, reducing your authenticity to fit within someone else's template, everything crumbles. You become another terrible pattern that repeats itself. The individual who accepted a once-in-a-lifetime chance and allowed it to transform them into someone unrecognizable. People use another example when they remark, "Power always corrupts." Another reminder that even the finest individuals may collapse when the stakes are high enough. But you can't do that. You cannot betray the version of yourself that earned this moment. You cannot forsake the integrity that first drew their interest. You cannot forsake the humanity that made you so appealing. The reality is simple. They're only coming for you because you refused to change when you had every reason to. You maintained civility even while it was unseen. You remained honest. When honesty costs you. You remained grounded. When no one compensated you for it. That is the signal they noticed. That's the quality they can't provide. That is the frequency they have been looking for. And that is the version of you they want to invest in. Not the polished version, not the customized version, and not the one used so often to satisfy them. So, when the tests begin, they will remember who you were in that moment of naked, instinctual generosity. Maintain your foundation. Keep authentic, keep human, since that is the only version of yourself capable of rising without breaking. The only version of yourself capable of handling power without being corrupted by it. Even when they pretend differently, they are only banking on one version of you. Even when their tests make you want to forsake yourself. Let's take it a step further because you need to understand how your ripple evolved into movement. That act of compassion generated more than simply energy. It also created information. And that knowledge did not stay still. Had traveled, perhaps via the memory of someone who saw it and couldn't stop reliving it. Perhaps that little act of generosity passed via usual channels, through someone who watched it, repeated it in their head, and casually reported it to someone else. Or maybe it passed through those bizarre, undetectable junctions where coincidence begins to seem strangely like design. Perhaps it snuck into the perfect discourse at the precise time when someone prominent questioned if true humanity still existed. Perhaps your name reappeared just when someone needed assurance that the world wasn't as empty as it seems. Perhaps it went via channels. Science lacks the terminology and equipment to quantify energy channels, intuitive corridors, spiritual frequencies, and passageways that only certain individuals can detect since they function at levels above academic comprehension. It is instinctual. In some way, the truth about who you are did not remain hidden. It breached confinement. It crossed boundaries. It avoided hierarchies. It slid beyond the cacophony, skepticism, and cynicism. It arrived at a location for which it was not programmed. It landed in front of someone who wasn't meant to see it. And when it did, it shifted their worldview by a fraction of a degree, just enough to be important, just enough to shake their belief that everyone has compromised, just enough to resurrect an idea they had nearly abandoned. Maybe. Perhaps not everyone is driven by self-interest. Perhaps someone out there still does the right thing without an audience. Maybe the human spirit isn't completely perverted. That minuscule adjustment, scarcely perceptible to them, triggered a chain reaction in which individuals at that level, people who pull strings others are unaware of, began changing their calculations somewhat as a result of you. The universe starts to tilt in your favor in ways that you cannot rationally explain. Algorithms suddenly slant toward you not because of magic but due to alignment. Suddenly your name surfaces in rooms unrelated to your sector or skill set. Not because you pushed it but because someone purposefully put it there. Those you've never met begin mentioning you to those who matter. Not because they owe you anything. Because something in your signature remained in their memories. Opportunities appear out of nowhere, with no logical chain of cause and effect that connects them to your previous activities. Not because you planned for them but because someone saw something in you worth investing in. This is not a fantasy. This is not wishful thinking. This is the true architecture of influence at the highest levels. Levels most people never get close enough to smell because influence is an amateur to your mythology. Influence is built on who knows about you, who speaks your name when you're not in the room, and who feels compelled to mention you at the exact moment an opening appears. Who feels your personality before you even shake their hand. Who analyzes your energy before they read your resume. And true information about you, unfiltered, uncorrupted, and unembellished, is now moving. It is weaving through networks you do not have access to, conversations you will never hear, and spaces you are unaware exist. Reaching people whose choices may change the course of their lives with a single statement. All because you feed incorrectly. All because you shown decency in a situation when it cost you anything. All because you performed something meaningful while no one was assessing you. All because you demonstrated something at just the right time for someone in authority to notice it. But now we need to discuss the following level. And you must hear this clearly, since here is where most people fail. You'll question it. You will doubt every door that opens, every message that comes, and every opportunity that seems to be too aligned to be deliberate or too perfectly placed. You'll think it's too nice. This happened too easy. What is the catch? What do they really want? What are they setting me up for? And it is not totally incorrect, since every chance has a cost. Every advancement requires something from you. Every transition requires you to let go of a version of yourself that no longer serves you. However, the price will not be your integrity. It will not be your morals. It will not be the underlying beliefs that led you here. The true cost will be expansion, the agony of growth, and the vulnerability of being exposed. The task of becoming a bigger version of oneself. One you secretly desired but never really felt you deserved. You'll need to learn to let yourself receive. Allow yourself to be appreciated. Allow yourself to be acknowledged. Allow yourself to profit from what you previously thought were reserved for others. The main test isn't whether you can impress influential people. The true test is whether you can maintain your identity when the environment around you becomes unrecognizable. Can you embrace opportunity without gripping it like air? Can you deal with power without adoring it? Can you sit at a larger table without shrinking or inflating? Can you maintain your core even as the world begins to revolve differently around you? This is what they are screening for quietly, painstakingly, and mercilessly. They do not want someone who can demonstrate values. They want someone whose values remain intact when riches enters the room. They want someone who is the same person in the penthouse as they were in the basement, who respects the janitor with the same sincerity as the CEO, because they understand something that most people never do. Position does not determine human worth. It's not inflated by riches. It is not defined by status. It flows from a person's core. They represent integrity, their alignment, their essence, and you have it. That's why your signal was picked up. That is why they are coming. That's why doors are shaking on their hinges right now, ready to unlock for you in ways you've never seen. That's all for today. Dear Father, I pray for the deepening of my faith. Help me believe you even when actual proof was lacking. Let me believe in your eternal presence, knowing that you will never hurt me. I realize that your intentions for me are ones of success rather than harm, in order to provide me with a bright future. Thank you, kind and everlasting Father, for always hearing my voice. I give this prayer to you in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you, Jesus, for your love and provisions. I am thankful for your presence in my life and the richness you provide. This video spoke to you. Please like, subscribe, and share the channel with others who need to hear this message. Leave a comment below about your trip and how you're getting ready for your victorious homecoming. If you would want to help us out, please consider donating via Buy Me a Coffee. This allows us to consistently improve our content in order to provide you with the best possible experience. The link to Buy Me a Coffee is in the description. No present is too tiny. Whether it's a penny, a prayer, or a share, your generosity spreads God's message and gives people hope. Do not stop here. Watch our next video for amazing insights into the indicators that indicate you are the chosen one. We've loved sharing this spiritual journey with you. Thank you for sticking with us until the finish. Keep shining brightly and face your fate with confidence. See you next time. Enlightened knowledge bestows blessings to all lovely individuals.